Hello, magical ones! Welcome to the Fairy Stitch vlog. I'm Faerie, and today we are out in the smaller fairy garden today. Everything was going good until I got out here. Then the wind kicked up, the traffic picked up, and it's becoming a really noisy event, which was not the plan. So I am sorry for all the background. I hope you can hear me. And we're going to try to do the best we can, considering. But with the heat wave that we're going through, I just can't keep doing things in the afternoon or the morning. It's just too hot. And I'm afraid that the equipment and everything, things are going to get melted. It's just not good. So I was out here that we finally cooled down a little bit, which is great, but apparently I'm not the only one who decided to take advantage of the cooling breeze. Of course, the breeze wasn't this gusty until I came out here. But anyway, we're going to proceed, and I welcome you to another episode. I thank you for tuning in, and I hope you'll find this episode interesting because today I'm talking about sunflowers, my favorite flower. And it's one thing I do grow the most here in the garden. And if you've checked out my other episodes, you've seen me show you the plants and what's been growing this season. So I am going to try to show you what I can. I'm having to use my computer today instead of my phone. I can't record on my phone anymore for a while. So I'll try to walk the computer around a little bit so you can see some of it. But the main thing is we're going to plant. We're going to plant a sunflower today. I thought I'd give you a couple of extra tips. If you checked out my sunflower episode in the past, you may have heard all this already. But I thought I would do another one. So let me put this over here, and I gotta battle the wind. So I have a pot. I have some soil, just some regular soil dirt from my yard, and that's all I really need, really. And I have my seeds. I'm gonna show you. This is what I'm gonna plant today. Are these chocolate cherry sunflowers? Okay, get closer. So these guys I have planted in the past. Sometimes they do okay, and other times they're not as good as some of the other variety that I have used. But this is what I've got, so this is what I'm going to use. So first things first, I need my little spade. Okay, my little spade. And I got my pot of dirt, got my seeds. So I'm going to angle the camera a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to plant these little guys, and I always do the full package. Some people say you can split it up into 2 pots. Whenever I do that, it never works well for me. I don't get enough buds. I don't get a lot of flowers. And so I just put in the whole thing. I mean, granted, it's, economy-wise, it goes quicker because you're using all one packet. But that seems to work for me. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to open this package. And we're going to show you the seeds. Oh, yeah, these are the little tiny ones. These are the little baby ones. You may not be able to see it. Oh, let me see. You see the little tiny seed right there? They're just little. They're just really tiny. So what I'm going to do, whoops, I'm dropping them. Not good. Okay. Alright, so what I'm going to do is dig just a little hole. And you only need to do like an inch, inch and a half in the dirt. They don't have to go in really deep. Ooh, wind gust. Hold on to your hats. Okay, so I'm just going to pour the whole packet in. Okay, did I get them all? Let me check. Another one. Okay. Okay, so we've got, whoops. Some of them are little white ones, like this. Can you see? I hope you can see, because I can't. And then other ones are these little black ones. Little tiny black ones. Gosh, I hope you can see them. Okay. So, whoops. There we go. Okay. One got away from me. Alright, so the seeds are in. And, alright, so then I'm just going to cover it up. Rock. Let's get rid of that. Okay. Alright, so that is that. Okay, and then I have my little fairy wand markers that I made out of wooden dowels. Please check out my video that is all about the DIY that I did for this. And then I would just put it in. I've got to fix it and relabel it, but I'll do that later. But it's in the pot here. I'm just going to set the pot over on the garden, and then I got to water it. So let me do that. Okay, just take my water. Okay. Alright, I'm just going to let that soak a couple minutes. And then, just let that soak in, and then I'll water it again. So, because we are in this major heat wave, it's anywhere from 102 to 108 right now, which is hot. It's miserable out here in the high desert. I'm having to water all the sunflowers at least 3 times a day, if not 4. So, because I don't have a garden hose attachment to our water pipes, I have to haul the buckets out here. So it's one way to get some muscle tone, but it's also hard on me. But it's the only way I can do it. Otherwise, they start shriveling, they start drooping. The blooms and the petals start drooping. So you have to water them a lot. Sunflowers definitely need a lot of water. Now they always say they need a lot of sun, but what I found, and I've been doing this for almost 4 or 5 years, is out here in the high desert at least, you really have to water them. And if they're not in the sun directly all the time, that's not bad. They don't need to be in direct sunlight all the time. That way they don't burn up as quickly. It gives them a chance. So, unfortunately, I no longer have shade out here. I used to have a cover. I don't have it anymore. But I try to water them in the morning, then maybe like a mid or half afternoon, and then again in the evening when the sun is going down. So that's helping. That's keeping them going. And then another key tip to do is, if you're going to use your garden hose, if you're lucky enough to have that, then you've got an advantage over me. So what you can do is, when you've watered the bottom of the plant, whether it be in the pot or in the ground, water it good, and then turn your adjuster on your hose or whatever, and try to use the attachment that does like a mist or like a light watering, like a light rain, and go over the top of the plant, from the top to the bottom, including the blooms, including the buds, because that will spruce it up even more. That actually seems to really help, especially on a really hot or a sunny location or really hot day. That seems to work. So again, I don't have the garden hose, but what I'll show you here, I've got this little head, and it's got all the little tiny holes in it, and it creates that kind of misty, kind of a misty thing to it. So I'm going to show you here, just over the Dusty Miller. Hopefully you can see it. And I'm just making the rain. See? There you go. Alright. That misty or rain effect, like I say, you do that from the top of the plant and go down, or just let it run down the entire stem. It really does help. It boosts them along, and they'll be greener, the blooms will come out quicker, and they'll be more full. At least in my experience, that's what it does. So again, that's what I have to do all evening, is go over every single plant and do that. So I'm going to do that really quickly, and then we'll proceed from there. Okay, so I just watered all 17 of these guys. And again, like I say, it's really handy, like I said, let me show you. Start at the top of the plant, at the bud or at the bloom, and just water it and let the water run down the stem, run down the blooms, and that actually helps them. So you should see, if you keep doing that every day, even if you only do it once a day, you should see the leaves will start turning a little bit greener. They might get a little bit bigger. The blooms might start coming out quicker. So it's actually very beneficial just to water it that way. So again, that's another little handy tip I've learned that works, especially when you're in this heat. And it's the same thing if they're in the pots or if they're in the ground. Just consider that a new trick for you to do. Okay, so we've got barking dogs, we've got wind, we've got kids playing somewhere, cars and motorcycles racing by. Everything is becoming chaotic. The birds are fluttering around like, what are you doing? We're trying to eat, and all this chaos, all this noise. Yeah. Oh well. Best laid plans. It's the way it goes for me. So anyway, that is a couple of tips for you. Again, they always say the sunflowers will follow the sun throughout the day. I have to admit, I've been doing this 4 or 5 years. My sunflowers, and they're not just one type. I've got, I think, 15 different types out here right now. And to be honest, I've never seen any of my sunflowers actually, the blooms follow the sun's arc across the sky. It sounds great, but I've never seen it. They don't do it, at least not in my experience. That's okay though, but again, I've not seen that. I love that one line, that line in one of my favorite garden movies, that I've mentioned it before. The movie is called This Beautiful Fantastic. If you haven't seen it, check it out, especially if you like gardening and gardens. It's a fantastic movie. But anyway, in that line, Tom Wilkinson says to the girl, he says, here, try the sunflowers, they like a lot of light, and they follow the sun, through the day. And I thought, well, maybe in your garden, but not in mine. I'm lucky that they just grow and open. So I'm grateful for that. And then I have to harvest them before the birds eat them, because the birds pluck the petals. So it's like, and all the little tiny ants and aphid kind of things, they like living in the sunflower blooms and climbing up the stems. So when I cut them and harvest them, take them in to put them in the vase in the house, I have to leave everything out I have to put them in the vase in the water and leave them outside for a while to give those bugs a chance to crawl out and get out before, because otherwise they you put them on your coffee table or whatever, or your dining table. Next thing you know, you've got those little tiny buggies all over. Ugh. So, that's another tip I've learned to do. And then when I want to use the petals, when the petals start wilting and falling off, when they're in the house, because I'm enjoying the bouquet, and so when they start falling off, that is when I just pluck all the petals, lay them out on a table, and within like a day, they've dried out and they feel really crinkly. So that way I know they're dried and they're ready, and I can just put them in a jar, and I can use them for my candles. I use them for my spell work. I can use them for decoration for something else, maybe. You can make a paper craft with them, that kind of thing. This kind of stuff. There's a bunch of things you can do with them. And now, if you want to preserve them and you don't want them, let's say you've plucked them off the bloom and they still feel moist. They still feel soft. They still feel pliable, I guess is the word. What you can do is put them in a Ziploc sandwich bag, put them in your freezer, and you can just keep it in there. I have a bag of sunflowers petals from, I think, like 2 years ago. And yeah, you do get the ice in there with it after a while if you don't empty it out every once in a while. But if you leave it in there, then when I want the petals to be bigger and I want them to keep more of their shape instead of crinkling, because when they dry out, they're going to crinkle and they're going to wrinkle and they're going to go from this size to this size. So if I want to keep them this size, or at least close to it, just put them in a Ziploc bag and put them in your freezer. And then you can just pull them out when you're ready. And I can use them for, toppers on a candle or something if I want to keep them fresh and make them look big and more presentable. So, another thing you can do, another tip. So besides all of that, and I'm starting to lose the light, it's starting to get dark. The other thing I'm doing is what I had done last year. And unfortunately, it's gone. But I started a sunflower journal last year when I started planting. I think I might have kept some of the stuff from the year before. So 2023, technically, I started a sunflower journal. It's missing. It's gone. I don't know exactly what happened to it. I have a feeling it's got accidentally thrown away. So all my notes and all of the planting I did over the last 2 years, they're gone. I don't know what I planted. I can't remember exactly. So I'm starting a new journal so that I've added another project to myself, which it's like, why do you keep doing this? But it is kind of handy because I can keep a record of the ones I planted from year to year and remember what worked, what didn't work, which ones were better, which ones needed help, which variety I liked better, this kind of thing. So that is the new project to go along with all of this. And I didn't bring it out with me. So I'm thinking I might run in really quick and grab it so I can show you, but I am losing the light. I've got to move quickly. So let me go do that, and I will be right back, hopefully. So I run in and grab my journal. Let me just say, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe today. It would be great to have your on the list. And for all those of you who have subscribed, thank you so much. That's really great. I really hope you enjoy the upcoming episodes. Like, we've got a bunch of stuff coming, and there's already a whole bunch on there. Faeryology and fairy craft magic, and there's baking, gardening, there's the Faystone Garden Project series. So please subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so here's the journal. And I don't have my fancy journal anymore. I just have a composition book because that's what I've got. So what I've done is I'm making this my journal. So what I do is basically I take the package of the seeds and I cut out the top. So that way I have the picture, I have the name, and I have the company that I was using. and then I write my notes in, and if I want to keep a seed just to see what it looks like, I glue it in there. So basically, I write down, what I planted, when I planted it. And then I write down, did I put it in the pot? Did I put it in the ground? Was it more in shade? Was it more in full sun? And then I write as the plant grows, and when it gets to the point where it starts blooming, then I continue the notes and say, okay, it now has a whole bunch of stalks. It now has about 6 or 7 buds. The buds have now opened, and this is the color of the petals. This is, it's kind of the size of a baby's fist, or it's the size of a racquetball, this kind of thing. And that's what I keep a record of. So that becomes my journal. And I do that for each plant, each one, each type. And if I don't have a picture, then I just have to either try to find one and print it out, which I can't do because I don't have a printer anymore. But if nothing else, I could draw it. I could do a painting of it if I really want to take the time. So you can make it as artistic as you want, or you can make it as utilitarian as you want. Normally I go for the artistic because I'm an artist, but sometimes I just feel I've got so many projects, and I'd rather put my artistic energy into something else that has to be drawn or painted or whatever. So these guys, it's easier just to clip the picture and do this. So that's what I'm doing. So this is my new journal, and I'm going to keep it up as best I can. That way I can record what I'm doing. I have to record in the cherry, the chocolate cherry that I just planted. I've got to write that in and clip the packaging, so I'll be doing that later. But yeah, so that is the new project. So if you want to do that too, especially if you're just beginning, and you just begin to grow sunflowers, believe me, the sunflowers, they grow fairly quickly. They're a great plant for children if you want to get them interested in planting. If you want to get them interested in gardens, fairy gardening, it's wonderful. You get your sunflowers into a pot, big pot, and the kids can help, build the little fairy village around the plant as it starts to grow, and you get them interested in watering it and caring for it and doing the blooms and keeping the journal. I mean, these are all things that your kids can do with you or by themselves and at any age, but it's a great way to get the children interested in gardening. And they're going to see blooms, they'll see flowers, they'll see it grow quicker, whereas other things might take months and months before you actually see something. So sunflowers are great for that. They're great to get that almost instant, connection. And of course, a lot of fairies, not all types of fairies like gardens or plants or flowers. Some of them don't care, they have no interest. But I mean, there are fairies that like them. They use the sunflower for cover in the rain. They might use the petals for clothes or hats. I mean, yeah, we're kind of going towards, fairyland, fairy tales and Disney and all that stuff. But I am a fairyologist. I do believe in all aspects of fairy lore and fairy myth. And so it's okay, to believe in that kind of thing, because I do. I do think that the fairies use what they can. They will use nature, so that they can survive, have what they need. So they will use the flowers. So you're actually connecting to the fairies by growing sunflowers or any flower. So don't be afraid. Do it and put your little village out there. Get your fairy friends out there, your statues. It lets them know that you're encouraging them to come to the garden, to use what you're growing, and it helps you connect with them. And again, it's great for the kids. It gets them interested in both gardening, and you can expand out, grow a fruit tree, do a vegetable garden, start an herb garden, plant roses, plant tulips, anything. Get in there and enjoy it, and have your kids enjoy it as well. And you'll find that you're connecting to nature. It'll make you happier, and it's a great way to have some time with your children and get some out in the weather, out in the nature a little bit, and you're going to have a great time. So sunflowers are really a great plant to start with. And even if you're new, if you're, you could be 70 years old, never planted a thing, and you're like, you know what, I really want to start something, get a couple pots and some seeds of sunflowers and start your own sunflower patch. It's the same thing. It's easy, and you just keep at it. So I hope you found this video interesting. I really appreciate it. I enjoy talking about this stuff, and we do have other sunflower videos on the channel. Please go back and check that out. There will be more coming, and I thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to donate to us, you can to the PayPal link. And in the meantime, we hope that you will have a very good day, and subscribe if you would like. Check out our Facebook pages, and please tune into the next video, because we're going to sprinkle a little more fairy dust and see what we can conjure up for next time. So thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Have a fairy day. Enjoy your sunflowers, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.